welcome everyone to Resumania. Thank you for showing up. We're going to be looking over the resume you see before you, and the way this works is kind of a refresher for everyone. We want to try and keep this a discussion, so you're welcome to chime in, absolutely. You're welcome to type in the large meeting room chat room as well, and I'll be keeping an eye on that every so often. And other people are welcome to speak up for people who are typing if that gets missed. I want to also remind people that this is from sort of an American perspective. I myself, born and raised in America, I imagine most of the people present today are American, so that can skew advice. Speaking of which, it is advice. It's not mandatory. It's not a guarantee. It's an opinion, really. So, you don't have to necessarily take the advice. You can use your best judgment. And this sort of thing is very subjective, or a lot of these things are very subjective. You can have advice that will give you, that can be taken to one manager who will love the changes, and to a different hiring manager who would rather see your resume the way it was before. Sometimes there's a general trend, and we try to lean towards that, but we just can't make any promises, and it's entirely up to whoever happens to read it. All that being said, are there any questions before we jump into this resume? I do see one question in the chat for sharing this resume in the chat, and yes, we can do that. And if anyone else has any other questions, you're free to ask while I do that. This one is just the one page. Actually, that's a PDF, so what I'll do is I'll take a snippet. There we go. Okay. So to get sort of an overall feel without looking at any specific details, what I see some thin margins, which aren't a bad thing. That tells me that this is very full. I don't see a lot of white space. It seems like that there's a healthy amount of content here. And as I mentioned, it all is on one page, which is good. Generally, we talk about how you shouldn't have more than one page unless you have something like 10 years experience. And this being someone who's graduating soon, one page is you really want to keep to that. Does anyone else have any notes on the formatting or their first thoughts on it?
Yeah, I disagree. I think the space is used well.
I think
my main comment was going to be about I'm not sure if leadership experience, it either should be a section or should be at the bottom of the section if it should be a section.
What do you mean by leadership experience? Oh, at
the bottom section. Yeah. You just don't see it a lot. It's sort of, you have an experience section and then a leadership experience section. It just kind of, I feel like it's just redundant. Sort of just put it in experience at the bottom and then have technical skills at the bottom or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't take my word for it. Just my opinion.
No, I understand. It makes sense. If it's only one item, that's the way I look at it too.
Awesome. So I want to start up here at the top with the header, and I kind of like this. It's nice and compact. It's all the information you need. You got your phone, email, and a LinkedIn. Perfect. If
they're clickable too. Pretty cool.
Well, I know they are in the PDF. That is true. Let's see. So you got your education. I think it's good to have your education up here if you're still pursuing your degree. That's useful information to know that you're not graduated and you're not graduating until at least December 2022, hopefully December, which is coming up. And so you're not like, this isn't your first semester or anything like that, and you have a 4.0 GPA. That is amazing.
Well, it's kind of complicated. Technically, it is my first semester, so take the GPA with a grain of salt.
Okay, for your master's, yeah.
Yeah, it's I'm in a split program, but I technically complete my coursework in the spring. I plan on doing my thesis part-time, summer into fall.
Okay. I think I'm going to rely on a few other people for anything related to your higher education. I know there's a few people here who are more experienced with that than I am, but still, nonetheless, one semester or not into it, 4.0 is pretty amazing for a master's, I think, and that's backed up with your bachelor's having a 3.6. I think that's pretty good. So I'm glad you're showing it here. I don't know that you necessarily have to say that the university is ABET accredited. That is something that you see people looking for. Employers want you to be from somewhere that's ABET accredited, but I think that's generally assumed unless it's like some name they've never heard of. It's like one of those details that you're more likely to get caught for later than in the application process, I think.
Okay.
Frost says that's a very interesting take. For us, it is very common to include leadership section unless it will move us to an incompletely filled relevant entries only 2-page resume. I think I get what you're saying. Like normally you would take that out if it could keep you on 1 page. But otherwise it's pretty standard for those of you in academia to include a leadership skill or a leadership experience section. I can only take Frost's word on that if anyone else wants to push back on it. But if that's typical for y'all, then I won't necessarily say take it off. All right. I have been talking for a good hot minute, though. Does anyone else have any thoughts about the education section?
Yeah, it's pretty standard. I don't have any opinion on it.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, there's only so much that you can do here, right?
Yeah.
I went to this school, I got this degree, so.
I mean, yeah, if anything, to be in the most nitpicky way, it's not even a nitpick, it's just a preference. I usually would put BS and MS just to remove, just to condense it, I guess.
I think I
get it. Yeah.
I think I do agree with that.
But I mean, it's so trivial that it's sort of.
I know that there's some mixed opinions about having magna cum laude, whether or not you want to put that in there, because that can mean different things depending on different universities, and whatever information that may be conveying is really already given in your GPA. So I do often hear in our reviews, at least, the suggestion to just leave that off.
Are you applying for jobs now?
I am, yes.
Are you trying to do some type of academic job or an industry job?
So more research focused at the moment. I like the work I'm currently doing in photonics, and I plan to continue that path. And a lot of the work there is research rather than just like industry work.
Sith man, huh?
What was that?
Sith man. Silicone photonics.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I worked. Right now, I worked mostly with the gallium arsenide. We did some silicon photonic tests, but not much.
I was going to suggest putting your education at the bottom if you were doing an industry application, but if you're doing R&D, I know much less about that.
Yeah, I thought about that too, and I'm going to advocate why I put education at the top is simply because I am still doing my degree at this moment. I do have a lot of experience that I think I if I wasn't in school, I would swap the two. I'd put education at the bottom, but because I'm in school, I believe I should still keep it at the top. And you can, if anyone disagrees with that.
No, I like I said earlier, I agree with the reasoning of you're still in school, so it's good to have that information up front. Frost, you may or may not be deaf, but I believe Jason did say that he's going for industry R&D. Or am I mistaken? Are you looking for academic R&D?
No, in industries R&D is correct.
Okay. All right. We can both be deaf.
Don't worry, I am too.
Okay, then. I think maybe you could take off the expected for this December 2022.
Mm-hmm.
The only benefit I see there is with someone reading that and wondering if 2022 is a typo or not. But I mean, that won't be, whether or not it's a typo, you mean 2021 maybe. But I don't think they're going to, worry about that too much when they see May 2021, and also 2 months from now, it'll be obvious.
Yeah.
So you could probably drop that and not lose any information. And then moving on to experience. I will say I like the lines here, breaking up your sections. I think the headers are a decent size. They're not distracting, but they're clear breaks in the rhythm here. And then the experience itself, you're looking at your research lab that you've been working on since September 2020. Let's see. You've been working as a research assistant, and what have you done? You have utilized ANSYS, HFSS, and Synopsys RSoft to establish velocity matching between optical waveguides and RF electrodes in a, gallium arsenide? Electro-optic modulator, resulting in a modulation bandwidth greater than 10 gigahertz. And skimming through the rest of the resume, I see that I'm not going to have the usual needs more detail every other bullet point. That's good. I haven't quite parsed it. I don't know what you did, but that's saying more about me than what you've written here.
If I could, I haven't read fully through all of them, but I would say, just to throw out my opinion on it, it might be good for you to, and this is something that I think we've suggested in previous resumes, to have your publications section at the bottom, especially if you're applying for R&D, so they know you've done published work. But then also, for the bullet point beginning with performed specifically, I think that is a bullet point that could have more room for like mentioning the specific, like what tests did you do or anything like that.
Yeah, I debated a publication section. I just only have one publication at the moment, so it's in a very well reputable journal, but like I don't know if one is enough.
Oh yeah, I am not in that world, so I'm just going off of what I heard. But yeah, I think that's one is more than enough. If you have something, then put it there, because it's way better than nothing, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think it
is it your thesis?
No,
you have time. You have a lot of time, I think.
Yeah, it's a research paper that I wrote alongside my professor, a PhD student, and another master's student.
Did you use the instruments that you mentioned in the last bullet point for that publication?
For that publication, we only used the optical spectrum analyzer. We, of course, had to use lasers and the RF spectrum analyzer. Oh, and oscilloscopes, but of course. No, I was not first author. That's why I didn't want to put it.
Mhm.
Co-author.
And I know you're reading these, Jason, just for everyone else or for the video. Frost adds, as long as you publish in a high IF journal, it is a good idea to put it in, most especially that it is more important than being a resident assistant.
I agree with that.
Okay.
It's like a number or like a reference string for a publication, so they can just type it in and then find your paper.
Sure. Yeah.
I can't remember what it stands for.
Digital object identifier. I would not have guessed that, honestly.
Yeah, I would not have either. Thank you.
All right, then. And Skunkamunka suggests, I feel like you can move the instruments, the last bullet point, in the technical section, or the technical skills section. You can do both, I think. You can, what I have started looking for is if you have a skill in a skill section, it is, it's really, really good if you show how you've used that skill. So, for example, if you say that, if you list in your skill section, oh, I used MATLAB, you have MATLAB down there. And then in none of your bullet points and none of your experience, you don't mention MATLAB or Simulink or any of that. It leaves up the question of, well, what can you do with it? What did you do with it?
Yeah.
It makes it harder to gauge how much you actually know.
Yeah, I think as the bullet point is currently written, it sort of has the same effect as it would if you had just put it in the technical skills section. That's sort of why I asked previously if they had used those instruments in attaining that publication, because as it is now, it doesn't really say like how you use them, really, right? It just says that it was in the lab you're in.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe I can edit the bullet point. The one where I mentioned the publication, I can, explain using lasers, using RF, like, those spectrum analyzers and the lasers to test the photonic link. I should be clear, by the way, I did
Go ahead, sorry.
I did autonomize that bullet point a little bit because I did explain what the publication was a little bit. However, I just don't want it to. You guys could easily find my name if you just looked it up. It's a novel. It's pretty novel. So I do want to make that clear for everyone.
I see. That's fair. I feel like it might be good to mention the kind of lasers as well.
Okay, maybe, yeah. I guess, yeah.
There's a huge difference between different lasers. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can put that out to the side here. Just if I can remember how to write. There we go. Type of laser.
Now, I did mention it in the chat. Yeah, I meant my article. My article, the publication is still early access. That journal technically has been published for this year. So, does that make it different?
You might be able to list it as like pending publication or something like that.
It did get accepted. It's just like on the IEEE website, it still just says early access, and it.
Do you know if there's something holding it up, or if you can contact them and say, "Hey, it's."
Oh no! Even if I download the PDF from IEEE, it is our final review of the paper. It was approved by the reviewers and everything, but it still just says early access, and they haven't given its code and everything on IEEE's end.
maybe someone else can help you with that.
Yeah.
Just kind of give a suggestion in the chat. But all right, outside of the publication, I like these bullet points because again, there's plenty of detail here, for sure. Generally, I would just kind of suggest following a star format, STAR, which is used in both presenting bullet points, but also it's very common in interviews where the interviewer will ask you a question and they want a response in the form of giving a situation, a task, an action, and a result.
Yep.
So if you can follow that kind of order, that's something that recruiters and HR pick up on. Sometimes they pick up on a little bit better because that's sort of what they're trained to listen for. And if they read it, they sometimes like that too.
Okay. Yeah, I
The third bullet point after the word systems, there should be a space. A very small thing.
Space? Okay. All right. Whoops. Thank you for noticing that. That's a very small thing to notice, you know?
And that can that sort of thing can matter for ATS. You know, if a computer's scanning through this word by word, they can read systems. ADS is one word, and that can kind of throw off keywords and such like that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. And then moving on to the next one. Well, that has the publication on it. Yeah, performed, I think, is good here or is followed up with good explanations of what you're doing. I think you're leading with strong action verbs here. You're saying you designed, you created, you performed a test, you performed a recovery, and the one thing that I think you can make stronger is your first bullet point, which is arguably where you want it to be the strongest.
Yep.
You start by saying you utilize some software to do a thing. It's a little bit better, in my opinion, if you can say I did a thing using software, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
I'm not sure how I want to note that. Maybe just parentheses and an arrow, and I'll clean that up later if I need to. But like you could say you established velocity matching between such and such using this. And then similarly, moving on to your second experience here, applications engineering intern, sounds nice. Your first bullet point starts off with assisted, which I don't think is a very strong verb here. If you did the things yourself, then that's great. You can just jump over the assisted and say I did it, even if it was with supervision or mentorship or someone checking after you. If you did it, you did it, and you can say so here. See, you assisted in applications testing of in-development high-side driver IC through the creation of testing/demonstration software that allowed IC control through a computer, GUI, and integrating with the IC through an Arduino Nano and SPI. Very descriptive. If I knew what some of those words meant, I think I would know exactly what you did. Again, I just think starting off with assisted is not very strong. And even if you can't rephrase it, maybe you want to consider moving that bullet point down. Because again, starting off with designed or performed testing is, again, in my opinion, better.
Okay. Yeah, I'll try to figure out how I can reword that.
Anyone want to jump in on the first or the second bullet point?
The second bullet point, the design of I think it's the phrase "my demonstration software." I think for me that sounds kind of strange. Like maybe the word "my" I'm not used to reading in this context, at least.
Yeah,
Is
I
it
think
like
that first person kind of perspective.
Yeah.
did you make it, or was it something internal, or?
I completely made the entire demonstration software on my own.
Ah,
That's why I used because it was no one else's.
oh man. Okay. That seems like it sounds impressive, at least. I feel like that merits almost its own bullet or something.
Well, the demonstration software was the first bullet. That's everything that it did. That's the demonstration software I was discussing in reference to the second bullet point.
Oh, I see it. Yeah, my bad. Okay, no, that makes sense. But even still, I would say the point still stands, at least with the word my.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that too, because the tying back into using the word assisted, if you're taking possession of the software, if you feel like you did most or all of the work on that, then I think you can definitely drop the assisted and say that you did these things yourself. Does that seem fair?
Yeah. Could I add? So I will still want to follow like the star on that one, but could I move? I created this software, and at the end of it, I created to assist. I'm just trying to think of how to keep that in there. Or for applications testing, I should say.
So you developed a software to assist in the testing of in development, whatever the case is.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I might have been misreading that a little bit. I think I got you now, though. But to answer your question, yeah, I think you can combine those as long as you shorten it up. Because if you have a 4-line bullet point here, that gets a little wordy.
Yes. Yeah.
Especially if it's all one run-on sentence. But if you can cut some things out, then yeah, that formatting sounds good to me. And Frost says, developed a whatever use demonstration software to design evaluation board, ... Something like that could work. I'll come over here and I'll say, maybe combine. And again, if it's going to be, 3 full lines or 4 lines, then maybe you are better off keeping them separate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I keep the maybe in there. See, then moving on, you performed rigorous testing of competitors' products and in development IC with the use of equipment such as, is that IV or 1 through 5 curve tracer?
It's IV curve tracer.
Okay. Oscilloscope, multimeters, and DC power supplies.
Should oscilloscopes be plural? I feel like it should be.
That's a good question. I'm on the fence about it. Did you use multiple oscilloscopes?
Not at one time, but I did have to use oscilloscopes multiple times.
Maybe this is just my opinion, but if you're not dual wielding oscilloscopes, I don't think you should even include it. Yeah, I think it could be plural. I don't know that would look funny either way. Yeah, I just don't have a strong opinion myself.
I feel like it's just a minor thing that they're gonna not really. That a recruiter, if they even saw it, they just be like, "Oh well, you know what? The rest of the resume is fine."
Yeah, it's like the space thing. It's like it won't matter at all. But there is a correct way. I'm trying to think of what it is too. I'm not sure.
Don't worry about it. I'm taking a lot of time tonight, so we can. Huh?
We started a little late too, but yeah, we can move on from that. I will say I feel like if it were just oscilloscopes, multimeters, and DC power supplies on the second line there, I'd be tempted to suggest leaving those out because they're not like they're not necessarily specialty equipment or anything like that. And for someone who has 2 degrees in electrical engineering, could probably be expected. If I'm wrong, then
you would be surprised, honestly. Like it's kind of, I've heard horror stories.
But I think if you were hurting for space, which you are, again, like the margins are thin here, you're getting close to the edge. But if you find you're hurting for space, I think you could take out those last 3 items and shorten this down to 1 line. But I'm not going to say that you have to because I'm just very agreeable. But you wrote technical documentation such as testing procedures, demonstration software manual, and evaluation board manual to be provided to the customer with purchase of an evaluation board. I don't know that the with purchase part is really necessary, but the rest of that I think sounds good. It tells. Let's see. I mean, it tells you what you did. Was there like any sort of situation or problem that caused this to happen? Like, did your boss say, or did someone tell you, we've been getting a lot of complaints from customers, or we've been getting a lot of equipment sent back because they don't know how to not break it?
No. That IC is actually still in development from as far as like I can tell through looking up the company online. And so the evaluation board isn't to be purchased, but the evaluation board I did make, I was just asked to make the software, the manuals for both the software that would be packaged with it and the board. In the case that a customer really needs help with knowing, what components went on the evaluation board, and everything like that, and as well as the demonstration software was capable of some pretty advanced features. And if the customer wanted to take advantage of those features, the manual would be there for them. But it wasn't like any, we really need this because we don't understand how to use it.
I gotcha. I mean, that's good too, especially on the company's part. That's great to be proactive. All right. I guess I really don't have any issues with that line. I think you could drop the with purchase of an evaluation board, but it's not going to save you any space. So it's, leave it on my end. And then we have assembled evaluation boards with SMD and through-hole components using soldering iron and rework station. I mean, that's good. That demonstrates a practical skill. Do you have any sort of like a result in that these boards were tested and found to work fine, good?
Yeah, my evaluation boards were all they all worked perfectly functional, and I assembled 10 of them. I think I could add that.
Yeah, with or without the 10, I think you could work in that they were functional boards.
I might actually include that in bullet point 2, because the evaluation board was functional. So it's probably good to mention that.
And if there's any particular test that you run on these boards that are like an industry standard or something like that, you can drop the name in there. If there's not, then I don't know.
There is not.
Okay. But yeah, that's good if you can say, and by the way, it worked. I didn't just dump a bunch of solder on a board and call it a day.
It'd be funny if I did, though.
Once. All right. Internship again, good. Design circuitry for mains line voltage control for temperature and hysteresis control of a heater device, and presented my design and findings to the engineering department head. Again, I would suggest dropping the mine.
Yep.
Especially since in the same line you're saying that you designed it, so the ownership is already implied in the same sentence.
Okay.
Findings. I would like to know more about the findings. Yeah, in the same line of reasoning as before, What were your findings? Did you find some way to make it better, more efficient? Did you give it a pass or a fail? Just kind of mention that at the end here.
We just didn't make it. We just didn't do it. We didn't follow through with that project. We went down a different avenue on that one.
So that was your findings, or did I mishear the question?
No, that's absolutely correct. I found what I designed. Like we ended up going down a different route. The department wanted to spend more time on it. I could go further into it, but it's just not necessary.
Okay, that's fine. This could actually be an interesting thing to talk about in an interview. If you would say that this was scope creep, because you're saying you went down a different path. Was it just like the goalpost kept getting moved, sort of thing?
No. So basically, they didn't really have a lot for me to do. So, they did give me tasks, but there was a lot of free time in those tasks. And a senior engineer, senior mechanical engineer, needed help with controlling a heater device. And I was like, okay, well, I'll do some research. And then in my free time, I just continued down the path of just designing the circuitry, figuring out how to do PCBs and everything like that. I designed like the circuitry to control it and the PCB, and we had a meeting, and I presented it to the department head, and unfortunately, he was like, you pushed really far ahead. I don't think we were prepared to go to put in this work. But yeah, that's what happened.
I gotcha. Okay. I think you could still include results here saying that. Maybe someone else can chime in on here, because I think you can include the results in a neutral or positive way, saying the project was discontinued. But if anyone has a suggestion on how to make it sound even better than that, I would be interested in hearing it. I think
your mic's kind of cutting out. No, would you be able to type it out? Like, we can't hear you.
Of course, at the very end.
Except for that.
Yeah, of course. Right. Thank you.
Sorry.
We're good right now. All right, I'm sorry. You'll just have to type it, and we'll have to come back to it.
It literally breaks right as he's about to give like the piece of advice. Oh man.
Also, just as an aside, I think the way to reconcile that bullet point from before is to just throw in two ands, like as an AN. So like an IV curve tracer and oscilloscope, multimeters, and DC power supplies. Just whichever ones you used one of, you just put an A or an AN.
I like that idea.
But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion. Thank you. All right, and then you design multiple PCBs for use within development T2B throttle valve models, creating an electrical connector that was able to fit in a 1/2 inch wide hinge. I think that's good, but I think you should include why that 1/2 inch wide hinge is important.
Okay.
Even if it's just like as simple as saying it fitting within the required envelope of 1/2 inch or something like that. Stating stating it as a requirement instead of just saying that it happened to fit in a half-inch wide area is just an extra bonus point.
Okay. Yeah.
And then Skunkamunka comes back and says, instead of discontinued, say management prioritized other stuff, or due to a labor shortage, funding, etc., the task stagnated. Basically include some context and outcome. Yeah, and Frost suggests deferred project. I think these are good things because they don't, I mean, obviously it's not like your fault that this didn't progress further than you had taken it. And, you know, we want you to look good on your resume, of course.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think that's a really good suggestion. Or suggestions from Skunka and from Frost.
I used my again to eliminate that in the next bullet point.
We'll get to that. We'll shame you for that in just a moment. And where is it? Attempt to improve my results. Yep, gone. So you perform testing. That's good. With in-development models, did some rework in an attempt to improve performance. Did that attempt work?
So. I don't quite remember. It was a while ago. I'm sorry. I don't quite remember how well it improved it.
Hey, that's okay. I mean, on my resume, I have so many results that I no longer have access to, so I couldn't tell you empirically.
Yeah.
It was saved or this or that, but
I think similar to what I had mentioned for the fourth bullet point of the first experience, but just sort of expanding on specifics of the testing itself. Like I don't know if it's a specific thing to RF testing that it's sort of a self-contained statement, but because like I don't know what it means when you say
fair
did testing. You know.
Yeah, I don't even know the name of that testing. I'm gonna be honest here. I can actually ask my professor. He might actually know what the name of it is. Yeah.
Yeah, if you can find out, that's the extra detail here is good, and even on things where you can't go back and ask a professor or an old coworker. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I had a eureka moment. Okay, I know how to put. I have an idea on how to put the RF testing in. How to reword that.
Nice.
No, no need. I have it. I'll take care of that.
Okay. I know you said you were getting a notebook earlier, so I'm being a little fast and loose with my note taking here.
Yeah, I'm writing everything down. I have like my unautonomous resume. I have like my real one, and I'm just writing on it.
Good. We should start recommending that. Actually, that's a good practice. Yeah, if you're homeless, buy yourself a house in order to have a home. Thank you, Frost. Just about quantifying results is something that Skunka said. Yes, whenever you can quantify a result, try and do that. Why did you type in?
After performance, there should be a either a comma or a coordinating conjunction. I'm really on the grammar today. But
where did you say that was at?
It's my worst skill, so it's good.
I think just after performance, right? It might be.
Yes, yeah. I need to.
It's like it's a separate thing that they're reporting the results. So you say, like the first thing is the intention of the performance improvement, and then comma. Yeah.
There you go. Okay. And, again, just if you can add more detail about the result, that's always good. And then worked with. That's one of those leads that I don't think is very strong. It doesn't really say what you did. Of course, you do describe later on you tested the usability of plasma etching through high frequency excitation of various gases. When you say worked with, that leaves a lot of ambiguity on what exactly you did. Whether you just stood over the senior engineer's shoulder or if you were actually doing it while they stood over your shoulder. It could be either way.
Mm-hmm.
I really like your resume. I hate this bullet point.
Thank you. I hate it
I was
too
gonna.
because I hate
Plasma
it.
etching. Plasma etching is a proven technology, right? So you're not really
Yes.
saying what you did.
Yeah.
Test the usability. It's definitely usable.
Yes. Yeah, I could honestly probably remove that point, in my opinion.
You know what I'm saying? It just
No,
like I said,
absolutely.
I really like the rest of your resume. I just do not like this bullet point.
So what we were specifically testing, and I'm fine with saying this on the record because it's not confidential, but we were testing plasma etch. We were testing, obviously plasma etching is a thing, and we know it works on wafers and everything, but we were testing its usability and actually cleaning the vacuum pipes, and how far it can travel down a pipe after the excitation point. Didn't really do much work in, I just assisted with the setup of it.
See, but that's so much cooler than what you've written, right?
Yeah, it is. It is, yeah.
I think a more appropriate wording would be something more along the lines of to test the efficacy of a novel, plasma etching method or something, and then to clean pipes or something more in that way.
I'll think about that because that doesn't work quite well for what I was doing.
I don't know. I mean, did you help design the experiment at all?
No, not at all.
Okay, so you kind of just set it up for them?
No, I just assisted with setup, connecting pipes together, and connecting the gas tubes and everything. But I didn't figure out the experiment. I didn't set up the power supply. I didn't set up the plasma, the plasma excitation couplers. But yeah,
that's fair. It makes sense. You probably were thinking of how to word it in the most generous way. It makes sense.
Yeah, because I was still a sophomore. Yeah, I was a rising junior, and that was very expensive equipment that I was dealing with. So they didn't really give me much power over that, which I completely understand. I'll think about rewording it.
Yeah, and you do have a pretty full resume here. I don't think there's much harm in taking it off altogether, but if you can reword it, and even if it's just some tech work saying, hey, I handled some very fancy, expensive equipment and didn't break it, then, that's worth something.
I agree with Chase and Calvin, for sure.
And I just want to emphasize, I really like your resume.
Thank you. Trying to get into MIT, but yeah. Whoop. I'm joking.
You did say that you were going into industry.
Yes.
All right. So then we have the technical skills section. Well, I guess before I do that, are there any lingering thoughts about the experience? We covered a lot of ground here. And frankly, there's just not enough red on this page. So if I missed anything, or if you have any last minute opinions, we'll give you
this is... go ahead. We'll see if your audio works now or your mic.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think in the technicals. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I see what. Yeah, I know. I get what you mean.
What
Okay.
I was saying was in the technical skills section, you might be able to save some space. Instead of CAD ampersand FEA, you could just maybe put like CAD slash FEA and get that graphics up to the
Mhm.
main line.
Yep.
And it also looks like there might be missing a space after ANSYS Electronic Suite, like a space after the comma.
Oh, yes, you're correct. Good catch.
And then, of course, as before the space after systems.
Yep.
Let's see. Frost says if you take it off, like referring to the last bullet point, I think, as well as, well, hang on. If you take it off, as well as the last bullet point of resident assistant, and combine resident assistant first and second bullet point, you have enough space to include your publication.
Okay.
Up here.
Yeah.
And then they also ask, which PI do you want to work with in MIT?
I'm not finna try to get my PhD quite yet.
No. Maybe, hang on. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I feel like some of these weren't mentioned up in your experience.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm writing something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I'll be a little slower.
Go ahead.
I did mention earlier, I happened to pick out MATLAB, and as it so happens, I don't think I've seen MATLAB anywhere else on the resume.
I thought, yeah, it's in
MATLAB's-
there in the
it's in the
second to
top.
last bullet point on the research.
You're right. Thank you. Yep.
I
links
saw it
for-
because it's all in bold.
Okay. All right. Well, you have it in there somewhere. I take that back then.
I used. So for that in particular, no. I actually software hard coded a PLL. We couldn't, for our application, we couldn't use Symbolink, Symbolink, because it, as much as I know how easy that would be, we unfortunately could not.
Okay. Let's see. I was just busy crashing
This is
with Acrobat.
so for the Frost point about the merging of like getting enough room for the publication. I feel like, at least in my opinion, as it stands now, there you could put the publication in and then just remove the experience entirely, in my opinion. I don't know if I'm just undervaluing it. Also, there's an O at the end of location, an anonymous location. But oh, you anonymized it, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, I don't know. It's just when I read the bullet points, it's not like I don't read that. It's not specific enough for me to be like, oh wow, okay, yeah, that definitely demonstrates like a mentorship kind of qualities or leadership qualities, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it just seems more valuable to maybe space. You get a little bit more space. You know, you can space out the lines a little more, and then you have your publication in there. Just in my opinion.
Yeah, that might actually work well too if I add in technical skills aid equipment point there. That'll add some more space, lowering it down, and then I only have one publication, but it'll fit in there better.
I don't know that would leave too much white space, Frost. If there's a publication section in its place. And the other thing of it too is that if you put that experience under the existing experience section, it also seems mildly out of place because you have like these really specific, really good internships and research, and then it's like, and I also have an RA experience as well.
Okay. Well, I guess we've now talked about the RA experience.
Really, I'm not gonna lie, guys. I only put it in there to show that to flex that I was working 2 jobs in college.
That's going to be fairly impressive for people who notice that, and some of the managers, when it gets to their desk, they will notice that sort of thing. Plus, I think a few people who are generally here at Resumania, but I don't see tonight, tend to like to see some sort of experience that's like quote unquote a real job. If you did any sort of restaurant work or labor work or anything like that.
McDonald's, hell yeah.
McDonald's, yeah. If you're hurting for space, or lack thereof, rather. Yeah, because it shows your soft skills, exactly, Skunka. It's obviously a lot better if you can show relevant work, and I think you have plenty of that here. But broadly speaking, including something that shows soft skills, working well with people, it's a positive. It's a lot better than having a blank space. Mini supervisor, yeah, that's basically what an RA is.
Yeah, basically.
But if you're going for a sort of R&D role, then I, as someone who again is not in this world, would expect that publication, even one publication, would outweigh RA experience or McDonald's or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's important enough so that you should be able to glance the resume, and then it's like important enough to be a section in itself. Like, oh hey, by the way, I know I have done the work necessary to attain a publication. Like, I know the process that's involved. I know the amount of rigor that you have to apply, etc.
Yeah.
Well, and I think those soft skills that come from working at McDonald's are much more applicable to, like, wanting to work into a plant or, be in manufacturing and not R&D.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Ross, you're so right.
All right. So overall, I think it's a good resume. I agree with, I think it was Grayson who saying I kind of really like this resume actually.
That was Calvin, but I also really like the resume.
Calvin.
I would not want this resume as my competition if I was applying for a job.
Yeah, I think I agree. As always, there's going to be a little bit of room for improvement here, and I think you can find that in being a little more specific about your results and your requirements. You have some like minor typos of needing spaces, and dropping the my's, adding an and maybe. But overall, I think you forced us to be pretty nitpicky tonight. So
no objection. Thank you. Yeah, I spent a good amount of time building this up. I really wanted to. I took the advice of it was what, r/resume. I took the advice for that and really tried to make it really nice.
That's good.
I have a
think,
final thing that might be useful. This is
Yep.
sort of this is under technical skills. Should there be like a hardware section or something like that?
Well, I thought we discussed that, like equipment skills, like equipment use.
Oh, we did? Okay.
I believe so, yes.
Well, then, yeah.
I was going to add that. I have that
I
written
second
down.
that. Okay.
Okay. Does anyone else have any last thoughts?
I know how to code, so I can read Python. That's definitely how that works, right, guys? That's how easy it is. Okay. No, I have very little. I don't have a lot of experience with Python. I have a little bit. So for my senior design, I used Python to create a multilateration algorithm. So it would take 4 different times and able to compute the location, assuming a radial admission from sources, from those 4 nodes, of which we get the timestamps from. But I don't feel like for the roles I'm going for, it's my project, my senior design project was important to put on. I have a lot of internship experience and research experience that I would rather focus on rather than just projects.
Yeah, I think that's well reasoned through. And from how you described it, I would agree that your internship experience outweighs the project there, your senior design. Yeah, if you could show that you had other Python experience, that would be good. In my opinion, Python is very, very different from MATLAB and C. Especially MATLAB. I mean, you got your differences of indices starting between 0 and 1. It's a whole different world, right?
Oh, yeah. Don't remind me of that one. Everyone hates it.
That being said, though, I think it's better that you've shown you're proficient in MATLAB and that you know some C and C# than the other way around, right? Because Python's kind of like the go-to beginner language almost. And C is moderately more higher level. It's even though you don't explicitly say how you've used Python, I think it's clear that you could use it. You could pick it up. Even if you never actually touched it before and you're just lying, you could probably pick it up just fine.
Yeah. No, Python's like so easy to read.
Yeah.
What's annoying about it, though, for someone that likes more traditional coding languages like C# and C, is it's tab based, which just kind of annoys me. But you have to get used to it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I have no other comments. Some people have strong opinions about whether or not Python and tabs are good each.
Yes, they do.
I think that'll conclude Resumania. I want to thank everyone again for joining us and remind everyone once more that we have another event tomorrow night. We have Engineering in Life, a electrical /
I do have something though. Could I add it?
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So like, like on the top where it's like within MATLAB, like does he necessarily have to put that because on the bottom he has like technical skills as MATLAB already. It doesn't need to repeat itself because, you know what I'm saying? Like why put MATLAB twice? All you had to do is put on, because I think it's like a little kind of wordy. There's like a lot of information because from what I heard from like Resume, they just like take like a 10-15 second look at it, and if it's too long, too wordy, they just go to the next one. But I don't know how true it is though.
It depends. I mean, a lot of times nowadays, as far as I'm aware, another disclaimer, I'm not in a position to hire other people. I'm not a manager. But as far as I'm aware, as an applicant, these things typically go through filters. They go through an ATS system and or a recruiter. And maybe they kind of do they typically look for keywords and then it goes to the manager. I don't know how true it is that they glance over it in 15 seconds. I'm sure some of them absolutely do.
So I'm a hiring manager. I handle like about, 20 resumes a day during hiring season. And I'd first skim it, look for the keywords that I like, and if it sticks out, then I sit down and read it. So I would read PLL and MATLAB, and then I would stop and read it. So it's not bad.
Okay, thank you.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah, thank you for chiming in. And again, I think it's good to show that you've used your experience, that you've used your skills in your experience. But it is always good to try and cut down where you can and keep things concise, absolutely. Because even if you hit all the keywords, if you have a lot of fluff, that can just be annoying if nothing else. Or disappointing even if it turns out that it's not as exciting when you have just a bunch of filler. All right. Now,
I apologize for taking the whole Resumania, though.
Oh, it happens every time. Don't feel bad about it. It's really good to have this back and forth as well, to be able to talk with you and to get answers to these questions, because otherwise, yeah, we might have run 10, 20 minutes faster, but that's because we would stop and say, I don't know what this person did. I don't know what this person means, put a question mark and move on. So it takes a little extra time, but having that feedback with you, I think, gives a better experience for everyone. You obviously, because now you have a little more personalized redlining here, but everyone else as well, because we're not just leaving it at, I don't know what this person means. We're taking it a step further and giving a suggestion or two of how you can incorporate what you did, what you've written. So thank you for joining tonight.
Yeah, of course. I've been meaning to join for a while, but I've been trying to balance school and work and writing this resume.
Understandable. At least you have your priorities straight.
Yes, yeah.
All right. And now with that, thank you everyone for coming tonight. If you enjoyed being here tonight, or if you are enjoying watching this video on YouTube, please come back every Friday, same time generally, 6 o'clock Pacific. And you can join us on our Discord. We'll make an announcement before this event starts. There's a specific role for it, the @Resumania role you can take, and you'll be pinged. You may have noticed tonight that we've started using Discord's new event features. You can keep an eye on the events at the top of the channels list and sign up for those as they're listed week to week. It seems that there is a problem with that on iOS. Talking with other people, that feature doesn't seem to show up if you're on an iPad. Maybe a MacBook, I'm not certain. But we also have another event tomorrow. We have our Engineering in Life with a former SpaceX employee. They worked there for 5 years, and they'll be talking about their background, their education, their experience as an intern and an employee at SpaceX. Again, that'll be tomorrow at 6 o'clock Pacific. And we have an event for that as well if you'd like to sign up for it to kind of get an extra reminder when that event starts. Thank you all again for coming, and have a wonderful evening, rest of your week, all that good stuff. You're welcome to chill here and powwow or leave.